UFC 320 is this weekend, and I'm super hyped that we finally have a pay-per-view card again. And this is a very good card. I'm looking forward to it. I'm super excited. I think we're going to be able to make a lot of money on it. So without further ado, let's get into the picks where I'll break down all of my favorite picks, my favorite bets, give you my fighter breakdowns. If you're new to the channel, I drop one of these for every single pay-per-view event, so make sure to subscribe for more. In the first fight, we have Veronica Hardy versus Brogdon Walker, and this is the first leg of my money lock picks. Veronica Hardy is an easy lock here. Obviously, trained with Greg Hardy, but Brogdon Walker is genuinely probably one of the worst fighters on the entire roster. This is just a layup. They were genuinely just feeding somebody to Hardy to get her back in the winners column because she did have some hype built up before she did take the loss, so they're trying to build her hype back up. Next up, we have Rahiz Brajimov versus Austin Vanderford, and this fight is very, very close. The odds makers right now have Austin Vanderford at like minus 350. I think that's too much of a favorite. I wouldn't have him that favored, but I am picking him to win. I think Austin Vanderford's the better wrestler. I think Brajimov has the better BJJ and the better striking. However, when you have a BJJ person who's comfortable on the ground, they're not worried about getting taken down and being on their back because they think they're dangerous from their back. Well, UFC judges see this person on their back, see them getting controlled, and they're giving points to the other person the whole time. So when we have a very close fight like this, I lean the wrestler, the guy who has good control, and that's why I'm going with Austin Vanderford. Next up, we have Punahele Soriano versus Nikolay Veretanikov. And Veretanikov is probably, in my opinion, one of the worst fighters in the UFC. I did pick him to win his last matchup when he was an underdog, and he did end up winning somehow, even though he displayed probably the worst fight IQ I've ever seen in my life. He tried like 15 spinning back kicks, spinning back elbows, and he ended up getting taken down off every single one. They always ended up putting him in a terrible position. And that was literally a tailor-made matchup for him, and he barely won against a way smaller opponent. I don't think Soriano's going to have any problem taking care of Veretanikov. Veretanikov is just very, very green. He's not a very high-level fighter at all and displays some of the worst fight IQ I've ever seen. Veretanikov will lose this one. There's no doubt in my mind. Moving on, we have Patchy Mix versus Jacob Wilklax. And man, Patchy Mix has fallen from grace. This is absolutely insane. Literally goes from fighting Mario Batista, one of the top prospects of the division, to now fighting somebody on their UFC debut on the early prelims. And it was a fall, and if Patchy Mix loses this, he's probably going to get cut. But after all that talk he was doing and then the performance that he had, I understand why they're giving him a fight like this with literally no hype at all. If Patchy Mix wants to stay in the UFC and wants to stay a name, he has to win this one. And I am picking Patchy Mix to win this one just based on the talent. I'm going to believe in the talent. I'm going to bet in the talent. There's this grappler versus grappler. This is where Patchy Mix is going to be comfortable. Hopefully we don't ever have to see him stand on the feet ever again because that was painful to watch. But yeah, I think Patchy Mix has this one. Next up, we have Macy Chiasson versus Yana Santos. And Chiasson really just fights harder competition. I don't watch very much women's MMA, so when I'm picking a women's MMA fighter, what I do is pick the one that looks the most like a boy. So we're going with Macy Chiasson, and she's going to get this one done. That's the method. Works every time. Kicking off the prelims, we have Daniel Santos versus Ju Sang Yu, and I am very excited about this fight. Ju Sang Yu is actually one of my favorite prospects in the entire UFC. He's coming off of an insane counterpunch left-hand knockout within like 20 seconds, and people are like, oh, well, look who he is fighting. He's fighting one of the worst fighters in the UFC. Yes, he was, but he went out there and took care of business and got an early first-round finish. I mean, when you fight somebody of low level, you have to go out there and take care of business, and that's what he did. All he can do is beat the opponents that are in front of him. Yes, he is relatively untested. This is a big step up in competition. He's not fighting a nobody by all means. This is not going to be an easy one, and this is going to be his first real test. However, I believe in the talent. I think he's a great prospect. He's super slick on the feet, a great counterpuncher. If he can stay on the feet, show us that he has some type of takedown defense, keep the fight on the feet, I expect him to win this one. Next up, we have Farid Basharat versus Chris Gutierrez, and I'm picking Farid Basharat to win by decision. I don't think this one will be a KO or a submission or a finish, but I do think he'll win by decision. I think he's the better striker. I think he has decent control time and scrambles as well, Farid Basharat. He's pretty proven. He's undefeated. He's a minus 450 favorite. Chris Gutierrez is so tough. I don't know if I, would play around with a minus 450 favorite and bet any money on Farid Basharat money line, just because I think the odds maybe should be a little closer than that. But I do think Farid Basharat should be favored. I do think he's going to win this fight. He's just much better on the feet, clean striker, And he has pretty good control time, pretty good scrambles. So let's go with Farid Basharat. Next up, we have Edmen Shahbazyan versus Andre Muniz. And this is going to be a pretty banger fight. I think no matter how the fight goes, the outcome is going to be pretty one-sided. I think the odds for this to finish within the distance are pretty strong, and I agree with that because I do think Edmen's going to win by KO. He's definitely the better striker, so it's more of a striker versus grappler matchup. And normally I like to favor the wrestler, the grappler, but in this case I am favoring the striker just because there's a much bigger gap. And Edmen does have pretty good takedown defense as well. So I am leaning Edmen Shahbazyan by KO. Edmen Shahbazyan by KO to beat Andre Muniz. We move on. We have Atiba Gauthier, and I think he was like fighting Tristan Vines. And then they were looking for a new opponent, and they've been switching it up. No matter who he fights, Atiba Gauthier by KO is a lock. They're going to feed this guy a can. They're trying to get his name out there. He's young. He's 22, 23, knocking everybody out. So they're not going to derail his hype train at all. They're going to feed him a can. He's going to get a first-round KO and keep that streak going. So whoever Atiba Gauthier is fighting, it doesn't matter. Kicking off the main card, we have Joe Pyfer versus number 14 ranked Abus Magomedov. And I got Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer is not a very likable dude. Not a big fan of the guy at all. However, he does hit very hard. He's tough as nails. And I think he's going to get this one done. I don't rate Abus that high. I don't think he's very great. I think he's slightly overrated. I just really don't. I think Joe Pyfer's going to get this one done. I don't even think Joe Pyfer's great. I don't rate him that high either, but I think he's definitely tougher of the two. He hits very, very hard. So, yeah, give me Joe Pyfer. I think he's going to get this done. Moving on, we have Josh Emmett versus Youssef Zalal. And obviously, you can never count out Josh Emmett, right? One of the hardest punchers in the entire UFC, has insane pound-for-pound power. However, Youssef Zalal is just too good at this point in his career. Just riding an unbeaten streak. Youssef Zalal is very, very good, a great prospect, only 29 years old, and really buying some hype around his name. Whereas Josh Emmett is now 40 years old, guys. Josh Emmett is 40. He's an old man, and it's very easy to game plan for him because he has one trick up his sleeve, and he's trying to catch you with an overhand. I think Youssef Zalal is just too good at this point in his career to be caught with something like that, so I'm going to pick Youssef Zalal to win this fight. Then we move on. These last three matchups are absolutely insane. I'm so hyped for this one. Yuri Prochazka, Khalil Roundtree. This is going to be a war. I'm genuinely so excited for this fight. And I got Yuri Prochazka winning. Unless your name is Alex Pereira, Yuri is going to beat you. Unless your name is Alex Pereira or maybe Magomed Ankalaev, Yuri's going to beat you. And Alex is just his kryptonite. But Yuri's a dog, man. And people don't realize that. Yuri is a dog. And I think Yuri's going to get this one done for sure. Khalil Roundtree's tough as nails. We all know that. He's this Muay Thai fighter. But Yuri's going to be quicker on the feet. Khalil Roundtree is super explosive, but Yuri's got this quick in and out stance. He's bobbing, he's weaving. He got his hands down. He's quick. His head movement's quick. Khalil Roundtree just kind of comes at you with that high Muay Thai stance, you know. I think Yuri's going to be bobbing, weaving, getting a flow state. I think Yuri's going to piece him up and win this fight. Nonetheless, I'm super excited for it. Then we move on to Merab versus Corey Sandhagen in the co-main event. And I'm hyped for Merab just to get a fresh matchup after seeing the Sean O'Malley fight again. I'm super hyped for a fresh matchup from Merab. Merab is 1 year older, and for somebody who relies on physicality, age is going to catch up to him eventually because he does rely on physicality so much. However, it's not going to catch up with him Saturday. He's going to beat Corey Sandhagen. He's going to beat Corey Sandhagen. He's going to take care of him, wrestle him, and do what he does to everybody. The game plan's the same. He's going to beat Corey Sandhagen. I saw Merab was bringing in some fighters that switch his stance and things like that to plan for Corey Sandhagen. He brought in this one kid, I forget his name off the top of my head, but like a 16, 17-year-old kid who's very, very good, switches stances a lot, and has an insane future. Jackson Glass is his name, Jackson Glass. He brought in Jackson Glass to train with him, and this kid Glass is a beast, so keep your eyes out for him as well. He'll be in the UFC, I'm sure of it. But yeah, Merab's going to get this one done. Like I said, he brought in training partners to mimic Corey Sandhagen. He probably didn't even need to do that. Merab's too physical. He's too strong. He's going to maul Corey. And then to the main event, Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. And looking back at this first fight, Alex got himself into trouble trying to rely on his leg kicks too much. He saw Ankalaev have some trouble with leg kicks in the past and thought he was going to come out there and exploit them. And he didn't. His leg kicks just weren't effective. Alex Perez never really had insane leg kicks. He has kicks. I mean, obviously, his kickboxer background, he hit Yuri with that high kick. But just as far as chopping somebody down with leg kicks, that's not really his thing. We know his thing. It's, bouncing into you, trying to catch that left hook. Alex Pereira is insanely talented, and I do hope he wins this fight. However, I am leaning with Ankalaev. Alex Pereira is 1 year older. He's 39 years old. Age is going to catch up to him at some point. Same thing. I have a very hard time betting on somebody who's 39 years old, coming off of a loss against the same opponent, to a champion who looks like he's just getting better every single fight. So, yes, does Alex have that knockout power? Of course, he can always knock somebody out. But I think Ankalaev's probably going to do the same thing. He'll probably be too smart, stay at range. This probably will be somewhat of a boring fight again. Alex has to make it dirty and make it fun in order for him to win, and I hope he does. I genuinely hope Alex wins. I just don't see it happening. I think Ankalaev is going to get this one done. I think Ankalaev, Merab are 2 locks. I can't wait to parlay Ankalaev with Merab. Super excited about that. I think that's going to hit on some money. I gave you guys a couple underdog picks. I think Jusang Yu is going to be a good value bet as an underdog. So, I'm super excited for this card. It's going to be very fun to watch. And make sure to subscribe, like the video below. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support. The channel's been getting some views lately. I know you guys like my UFC picks, so I do one of these every time we have a pay-per-view event. So, thanks for tuning in.